Hey, boys and girls. I just want to let you know real quick that today, this video that you're going to watch here in just a second was actually recorded Friday morning. I wanted to post it. The intention was to post it Friday before we went out of town, but I ran out of time because we had to leave. So today's Sunday the 15th. This video was actually recorded Friday the 13th. Let's check it out. Boys and girls, have I got a story to tell you today? You're not going to believe this. I'm the luckiest guy on the face of the earth. First of all, let me say, one of the reasons I'm very lucky is because you're here, and I really do appreciate that. Thank you very much. The second reason wait, let's do this. I'm getting ahead of myself. Thank you very much for being here. This is your old buddy Don with Adventures of the Broken Retired. Elmer's here with me today. Here we go. Let me tell you what happened to me last night. You're not going to believe this. Let me tell you what happened to me last night. So I'm sitting around at about 8 o'clock, quarter after 8, something like that. And, you know, as you've seen while I'm recording, I get tons of spam calls. My telephone doesn't even ring anymore unless I recognize the number, right? If the number's entered in my phone with somebody's name, it'll ring. Otherwise, it's going to go straight to voicemail. And I get, well, from when I first retired, I was getting 50 to 100 spam calls a day. Yeah, 50 to 100 spam calls a day. My telephone was just nonstop. So anyway, so what I'll do, I don't get that many of them now. I think the period for whatever closed, I don't know. But anyway, what I do now is every couple of hours I look and see how many spam calls I've had, and I'll run through and check the numbers to make sure I didn't accidentally miss one that rang and I didn't know it. Or I'll check the voicemails to see if somebody important or somebody that I'd like to speak with has left me a message. And last night I got a message from someone that was very important for me to talk to. You recall that I sent some letters out, and you recall that one lady who was part of the ownership in the truck's history had written me back and said that her and her husband had used the truck. It had a camper on it back then, and her and her husband had used the truck for their honeymoon. And she told me that she had passed the information on, my contact information on, to her son, and that her son would get in touch with me. Well, her son called me and left a message. Of course, I didn't answer it because it didn't ring. His name and number not entered in my phone. It is now. And he and I spoke last night for 29 minutes on the phone. He is an absolutely wonderful spam call. He is an absolutely wonderful, wonderful gentleman. That truck belonged to his grandmother. The lady who went on our honeymoon was, I think he said, was his stepmom. Now, I don't have any of this in writing yet. It's all memory from the telephone conversation. So if you're the gentleman that I spoke to, I don't want to use anybody's names, okay? If you're the gentleman that I spoke to, who will call you Fred, all right? So Fred, when we spoke, I'm doing this from memory. Anyway, we're going to call him Fred. So Fred told me that the truck originally belonged to his grandmother. She bought it new. He felt sure that it was a camper special. Of course, he's doing all those from memory as well. They used to go in that truck all the time, and they had a communication system between the camper and the driver. And there was a particular phrase that his grandmother would always call out to him. He said that he spent most of his time in the loft above the cab in the camper when they were going somewhere. and she would call out a couple of words. I don't remember what the words were. I'm sorry, Fred. I don't remember what the words were now. He does, and I'll get them for you. And he said that some of the best memories of his life were in that truck. Over time, his grandmother passed away. The truck went to his father. And then over time, it went from his father to him. He was heartbroken to see that it had been painted black. He actually, at one point, lived in Colorado, but moved, I think it was for school, to Kansas, and the truck went with him. And he said that he ran into some tough spots in his life. He ran into a hard spot in his life, and he had to sell the truck, and he was absolutely heartbroken about having to sell it, and he's been kind of beating himself up ever since he did that. He didn't want to sell it. He wanted to keep it. The truck meant too much to him, but he had no choice. And, you know, everybody at some point, unless you're incredibly lucky, but I know I have been there, everybody at some point gets to a point in their life where they have very, very difficult decisions to make. And you do what's right for you to do at the time. Hopefully that's what you do. You do what you have to. And selling that truck was something he had to do. And he was so upset about looking back on the memory of having to sell that truck. And he was still so emotionally attached to the truck that he got kind of choked up talking about it, which made me choked up talking about it. But he spoke a little more slowly, and there was gaps between his words. And he said he never, for the life of him, ever thought he'd ever hear back about that truck again. And then his mom got the letter from me. He was a very, very nice guy to be on the phone. You know, so many things in today's society, so many things are a scam. Everything's a scam. I know that. Pretty much everyone knows that. Email has got to be one of the biggest scams on the face of the earth. I get these, oh, look at this. Speaking of scams, I get emails trying to scam me all the time. It happens all the time. You know, your purchase has been verified. Come here to get your receipt. If you didn't make this purchase, well, yeah, they're trying to get me to, and I never go for any of it, and it's pretty easy. I mean, I don't have PayPal, and I don't have all that stuff. So if they send me an email that says, my PayPal account has been charged, I know it hasn't because I don't have one. So, anyway, back to it. Everything, so much of the world today is a scam that it would have been very, very easy for he and his mother to look at that letter from me. And, of course, I sent it an actual letter in the mail, snail mail. They could have very well just thrown the letter away, but they didn't. She contacted me, and he contacted me. I was starting to think, she contacted me Monday, he contacted me Thursday. I started thinking that I wasn't going to hear from him. I figured I'd give him a month and then send out another letter if I hadn't heard anything from him. And as it turns out, the reason for the delay is because before he contacted me, he wanted to watch all the videos that I had on YouTube about the truck. He wanted to see it. He is very closely emotionally attached to that truck. I am as well. And his mother is as well. And I know that, people will probably question my mental wellness when I say this. But you may very well have heard me say this already. The truck called out to me to save it. I know that that's ridiculous. It's physically impossible for it to happen. But I felt as though the truck called out to me to save it. And now I believe that. Because the gentleman that I spoke to last night, whose name is Fred, was truly warmed inside to have contact from someone about the truck who was going to save it, calling him with good news about the truck. He gave me as much history on it as he could. He said as far as he knows, he only has one picture, and that's him sitting on the tailgate. He's going to look around and see if he can find some more pictures and scan them and send them to me, which, what a blessing that is. Thank you so much, Fred. I assume Fred is watching, and I thank him from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to talk to me. He said he has a picture of him sitting on the tailgate. He'll have to find it. The reason I'm laughing is because he said he's wearing gym shorts and tube socks, which would be expected for the era that the picture was taken. That would be common dress. I think, anyway. He said that it was one of his uncles or his father or someone. See, this is where it comes. I don't remember it. I don't have any text to go back and check. I don't have an email about it. But he said that it was some relative of his that made the back bumper. That back bumper, I thought that back bumper was made by Ed Fitzpatrick because he was a welder fabricator, but it's not. The bumper was on the truck when Ed got it. He also said that at some point, to his memory, do you recall when I first got the truck? My eyes are watering. You recall when I first got the truck, there was some controversy about what size engine was in it. Well, Fred told me last night that he recalls the engine being replaced, and to his memory, he said, "Now look, man, I was young. I can't say this is 100% right, but he said to my memory, they pulled out the engine that was in it and put in a 460. Well, I've been operating on the assumption that it's a 352 because that's what the VIN number says. Fred assures me that it's a camper special, and I believe the guy when he says that. Because most of those 250s were camper specials. But there's no indication on the truck that it was a camper special. And the VIN number doesn't indicate that it was. But I believe him when he says it was a camper special. The reason for the confusion on the engine that was in the truck when I bought it, remember, they were advertising it as having a 390. And I checked, and Ford didn't put a 390 in a 67 F-250. The gentleman, Fred, says he recalls that the engine was replaced, and if he can remember correctly, they put a 460 in it. I don't think it's a 460, but it could be anything from a 332 to a 428. Now, I doubt that it's a 428, but the reason that I say it could be anything in between there is because the block that they used for all of those engines, everything from the 332 to the 428, was all the same block. If you have a 352, you can make it into a 428. Change the crank, cut the cylinders, change, but it's the same block, and there's no there's very, very little. The only way that you can really tell which engine you have, 332 to 428, the only way that you can actually tell is really to check the bore and stroke. And it's not just the stroke, it's the bore and the stroke. And then you can match that bore and stroke up. Now there's some other very subtle changes, but they may or may not necessarily prove that it is in fact a 428 block or a 390 block, or the only way to really do it is to check the bore and stroke. Now checking the stroke is not that big of a deal. You set the crank on top dead center on number one, and you check on the left bank, passenger side bank. I call it left because it's as you're facing it. On the left bank, you put a dowel rod down number one spark plug hole, and that same dowel rod down number four spark plug hole, the one in the back, and check the difference between the two, and you can get the stroke. That way, the bore you can't check without pulling the heads, and I don't have any intention of pulling heads on that engine anytime soon. I don't think we need to go that far. But I am going to have them check the stroke. I'm going to tell them what the guy told me, what Fred told me at the shop. I'm going to tell them what Fred told me about it, and I'm going to let them see what they can do, because it's very, very important that we know what size the engine in the truck is. I'm still assuming it's a 352. It's possible to be a 390 because the 390s did come into play. Could be a 360 as well. But we'll find out. We'll see. We'll see what happens. It was wonderful to speak with Fred last night about that truck. I'm extremely happy that we were in contact with each other. I understand the drive, maybe. Maybe it's the drive. Maybe it's funny because I swear that truck told me to save it. And I know that's stupid. It's, like I said, it'll have people questioning my mental wellness. But I think this is almost proof of that. That guy, Fred, was so happy to talk about that truck. And I invited him. I told him, wait a minute. I like having that extra light source from the side. I invited him. I encouraged him, anytime he felt like it, to jump in his car or on an airplane and come to Louisiana and look at the truck. Come see it. Come visit it. He said that he'd rather do it when it's all done, come see it finished, which is fine with me. I said, all you got to do is call me up on the phone and say, hey, Don, this is Fred. I'm 10 minutes down the road from you. Where's the truck at? When he comes, and I feel confident that he will. He's a few years younger than me. Few. I feel fairly confident that, in fact, he will come. I hope he does. It would really make my day to put those two back together. Fred and the truck. And I would be absolutely ecstatic to hand Fred the key. We'll take it out and drive it around, Fred. Put some miles on it. Spend some time with an old friend. It's got me feeling a little guilty that it's going to get painted blue instead of back to the pebble beige that it originally was. But I stressed over the color choice for a long time. And I'll be honest with you, pebble beige just does nothing for me. It would be good. At one point, I had said if I paint it, it'll go back to pebble beige because it's the stock color. It's the original color. But I just don't like it so much. So it'll be called on blue. And I hope he doesn't mind that I make some changes, some modifications to it as far as for engine and exhaust. I'm not going to make it a lowrider or nothing. I'm not going to butcher it up. But anyhow, that is what happened to me last night. This is a 20-minute video about a 30-minute phone call. I've never been so happy in my life as to talk to that guy. I don't think he's been so happy in his life in a long time as he was when he found out that that truck was still around and that I was contacting him for information on the truck's history. And he has quite a bit of it because he was very much emotionally attached with the vehicle. So he has a lot to say about it as far as I know. And I am looking forward to telling you guys all of it. I'm looking forward to having him send me the emails and being able to record and repeat the history of the vehicle. All right, I got to go. We got to go to, we're leaving for sister weekend. We're leaving in about 2.5 hours. I got to get this video out before we go. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for caring. Thank you so much for being a part of this incredible truck journey. I think this is really turning out to be just something really incredible. That guy Fred is so happy to be talking about that truck. And I'm so happy to have him involved. I feel like I did a good deed. All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Appreciate you. Let me get this thing edited and get it out so I can get on to getting ready to get out of here. Thank you very much.